So this is a quick little video to talk about some options and also to ask a couple questions. And so in doing this, what I want to be able to do is just annotate the plan that I have here and ask a couple questions. So I've spoken with the contractor that I'd be working with. It's this a tight time frame. Most contractors already have all their summer work lined up. So there's a couple things that I would very much like to get you to think about with this. So the purpose of this will be to give you a couple different options. And then we can decide which way you want to be able to go. And then I do have a couple questions which I'll type up. The first question, if you could please go out and look at the equipment, and on the play equipment should be the name of the play equipment company. If you could just take a picture of that, that would be great. A couple things that I've just noticed looking at it. This little zone down here is early childhood education. I think something that would give you your biggest bang for your buck is the idea of nature play, which is very popular right now, and particularly since you have this idea of the value of exploration. So we could look at taking the fence and allowing the fence to continue down so that we could open up this grassy area and look at some opportunities in here for nature play. And it could also give us an opportunity for a little central gathering space. Could be like a little outdoor classroom. We can use logs. So it's a space that could be used. We could move some of the picnic tables down in here. We could get some tree plantings, which would be nice if we think about that. So that this could be, a really sort of nice kind of shaded grovey area where the children could come in and play. Some of these things like the sandbox could then be moved into this area. So in this scenario, then we'd be looking at some fence work, and then plantings, and then maybe moving some of our play opportunities into this natural environment. So that could be a really good way to be able to do that. Something to think about. Second question that I have for you, if you could just double check for me, which would be good. And that would be these circles. I'm assuming that those are for tetherball. If you could let me know what surface, I'm guessing that's a poured-in-place concrete. I noticed it up here as well as kind of that main entry in. So if you could find that out for us so we can try to figure out if there's something we can do with that as well, I think would be good to look at. So that would be one option. So we'd be looking at, I believe these are picnic tables. We could look at maybe trying to cluster those, down in these other environments. Another option could be, again, given the time we have, is bringing in some type of a shade sail, probably over the smaller kids piece. So that would just be, a shade sail, maybe not quite that big, but it would be 3 vertical poles and then a piece of tensile fabric that crosses over that's filtered. It would certainly brighten up the space, and it would give children a very important shade given what it's like in the fall in Philly and what it's like in the spring in Philly. That could be important. This looks like it's the main entry in. Usually one of the things that we like to do is to create some type of a special gateway. But since you don't really have an opening here, which is where we would put an entryway, it's more down here. I don't know if that's really something that we want to try to think about. So those could be two things that enhance the play opportunities that you have right now, brighten it up, make it more enjoyable. The other thing would just be, we've got street trees, on this back zone, but we could certainly just do some additional tree plantings. We'll just change our color for that. We could look at another option would be street tree plantings or tree plantings in this lawn area that again could provide a little bit more shade, which would be nice, I think. So those could be some fun things to do right now without getting into the heavy cost of the rubber or the time lag with the play equipment. And would be something I think for you to take a think about. So, I will then sort of give you attached to this here some ideas on what we think some preliminary costs might be, but we'll just pause this for a moment and get into that. Okay, so in order to wrap this up for you, couple things that we need to find out is action items on your part are to be able to confirm the round pinkish color circles. Confirm paving for those circles in the schoolyard. I'm thinking they're for tetherball, but I'm not sure. Second, take a photo of the equipment company name, which should be on the equipment, and send to me ASAP. And then I can confirm. So I think given, an August completion date, our options are probably no new equipment given lead time needed. But I will double check that once you tell me the equipment. Okay, so then, given that, we can look at some rubber repair, but I think before we even get into that, I think if we find out who the play equipment company is, we would have them get out there and just do a safety inspection. So, at a minimum, let's get a safety inspection from the play equipment company on the rubber. And again, I would, if we have to patch anything at that point, I would just fix that rubber that needs to be fixed, and then really let's wait until you have a good idea of just what all you want to do. I would assume with that right now, again, I have not seen it, but let's just assume $1,000 allowance for patching whatever play equipment, rubber surfacing we need to. relocating the fence and adding new. I'm going to say for the moment that that would probably be around a $6,000 to $7,000 cost. Again, these are ballparks, but I think we really need to kind of get into some options for you so you can kind of decide what we want to try to do. Nature play. Again, that would be plantings, log benches, moving the sand pit, and then adding play elements for the children, sort of loose parts, loose parts play. I think for that, I think we can get a lot of bang for our buck on that. I would say for that, we would allow for a $3,000 allowance for the moment. The shade sail, depending upon the size that we get, those range from $3,500 to $7,000. But would definitely, they bring color, they create shade, really kind of a wonderful opportunity. And then additional tree plantings. They typically cost around $350 to $500 per tree. So, you know, we can, if we wanted, let's say we do 5 or 6, so that would be a $2,500 allowance at this point. The gateway doesn't seem like an important thing to be able to do, given it's really not that prominent from the main entry, and it's got kind of, it looks like a side entry to it anyway, so I don't see that being an issue. So those would be our recommendations. Preliminarily, you know, that cost then. So given this, we're looking at like $13,500 for some of these base things. Again, to finalize this, get me the name of the play equipment company ASAP, and I can follow up on that, and we can add that in or out. If any of this sounds like a good way to go, let me know so we can finalize these numbers and then take a look at how that might fit in there in terms of timing. Lastly, if that paving circles are hard surface and they are the right dimension, we could always throw in some tetherball poles, which again adds our play value and a different variety of things pretty cheap. Tetherball poles only run around $350 installed, so it's a really easy one to be able to do. So that's it. I think the only other thing I'm going to add, and actually I'll get that from the play equipment company, each one of your pieces of play equipment has a fall safety zone where we can't put any other equipment in those fall zones or safety zones. The play equipment vendor, though, will have that, and will have the CAD drawings for us, which is what we really need. So that's it. I'm going to attach this little video as well as some images of some of the things that we're talking about. Thanks, and I hope this is a benefit to you.